In honor of Earth Day 2024, we're kicking off an entire week of special environment-themed programs, including a Choose Your Own Disaster event, very interactive, with you, the audience, making the choices on how to save the planet. I'll have more on that in a little while. That's tomorrow night. Then Friday, Leah Penniman, founder of Soulfire Farm, will be here. We'll be talking about all things community farming. But first, tonight, we've got a special discussion on tap about all things conservation of our endangered species here in Boston and around the region. So, okay, quick show of hands. Who's a fan of turtles? Yes, this is a full turtle house here. Okay, salamanders? All right, this is good, this is good. Joining us from Zoo New England is Emilie Wilder, Associate Director of Conservation and Engagement, and Matt Kamm, a postdoctoral research fellow. And the moderator chair tonight is WBUR Climate and Environment Correspondent, Barbara Moran. We'll also be taking your questions throughout the hour. Head to slido.com and enter Reptile, and we'll get to as many as we can. Now, please help me in welcoming Emilie, Matt, and Barbara.
Yikes. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. We're going to talk about salamanders and turtles. Woo!
Yeah.
Okay.
Our favorite subject.
Yeah. So welcome to Matt and Emilie. So I wanted to start, we had a couple pictures of you two guys at work. This is me at work. Here's what I look like at work. We have a couple pictures of you guys at work. I wanted you to talk about what you do. But let me, while we're queuing those up, I'm surprised, you both work for the zoo.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think of a zoo as a place that works with like animals in the wild. Yeah. So how does that all
it's something
work?
a lot of people are surprised by. So, Zoo New England, obviously we have two amazing zoos, Stone Zoo and Franklin Park Zoo, and we have all these great animals that live at the zoo. But we have a whole field conservation department that Matt and I are part of, where we are working with animals in the wild. And so we're actually out helping to save endangered and threatened species here in New England and also around the world. So, So we're actually out in the field, monitoring turtle populations, monitoring salamander populations, seeing what's going on, seeing how we can help them, and actually making a direct impact.
Right, and here you are at work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
that's very
exactly.
intense looking. Okay, so tell me, Emilie, what you're doing in this picture.
Yeah, so here I'm showing a group of kids a turtle, which is my favorite place to be, is showing kids turtles. So my job, I do a lot of conservation engagement, and we have a lot of conservation programs, and Matt will talk about some of the research that we do. But we really want to not just be scientists in the field off on our own doing the conservation. We want to get the community involved. We want people to understand what are the things that are around them and how they can make a difference, because that is really the best chance that wildlife has, is having human citizens that know about them and care about them and want them to be there. So I'm teaching these kids about this turtle that lives in their neighborhood, and getting them excited and inspired about that turtle.
Cool. And Matt, you're looking very intense in this picture.
Yeah, so on that day, I know it was raining because I'm wearing my raincoat in addition to my chest waders, but I'm out doing research on one of our local native turtle populations. We've got several threatened and endangered turtles that live right here in Massachusetts. And in addition to showing the turtles to passersby, we also go out and follow them where we live. We learn about what they're eating, where they spend the winter, where they're laying their eggs, where they're nesting. Because in order to protect the turtles, we need to understand how they're using different parts of the landscape and what places are important to them and what places they're maybe avoiding. So I'm out there in the field recording all of the data I've gotten from some turtle on my clipboard after having already let the turtle get back to its turtle business.
What do turtles eat?
It depends on the turtle.
Oh,
so
you mean each species of turtle or each individual turtle?
Both.
Oh.
Yeah, so different species tend to have pretty similar diets, but turtles can specialize in what's nearby to them. But most of our wild turtles here in Massachusetts are aquatic or semi-aquatic turtles. So when you think about feeding turtles, people think about like lettuce and greens that you see turtles eating. Tortoises, the land-bound ones, do tend to be pretty herbivorous. They eat a lot of plants. But most of our aquatic turtles are actually carnivorous. They're eating a lot of animals, but that's mostly bugs. They eat water bugs and also like fish and tadpoles. And they'll also eat some plants too. Berries, mushrooms.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mosquito larvae.
Ew. Gross. Well, I guess if they like it, who am I to judge?
Well,
All
and they're
right.
helping us, right, by eating those things.
That's a good point. All right, excellent point. So, what types you guys work? You're talking about turtles, but is that the only type of animal you work with in the wild?
No, we do have a lot. We do have a lot of turtle programs. There's 10 native species of turtle in Massachusetts, and
Wow, really?
we work with 6 of them. So we do have a lot of turtle programs, but we also work with salamanders, frogs, fish. And increasingly, we're doing a lot of programs with plants because you think of a zoo as being about animals, but we always remind people not all endangered species have faces. And plants are the foundation of a healthy ecosystem. So at a site, maybe we work with turtles at that site, but we want to look at, like, let's see what the whole ecosystem is doing here. How can we make sure that there's a healthy plant community where then the turtles will live? And so we are also helping the plants in that ecosystem as well.
Super interesting. And what do you... What did you say is the hardest part of your job?
I mean, it depends on the day.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about radio tracking later, but
Okay.
radio tracking is really challenging.
Oh, okay.
And following a turtle, because turtles don't necessarily want to be caught. And so sometimes, we can spend hours trying to catch a single turtle. Matt was just experiencing this today, actually.
Yep. No, I was out today. It can be really physically challenging and kind of frustrating. Turtles are professionals at what they do, and a big part of what they do includes not getting caught by bigger animals. So, me and one of our colleagues spent about 45 minutes trying to get a turtle out from under a log. It wasn't trapped, it was hiding. It chose to be there. And eventually we shifted the log enough to get at the turtle, and it just swam right past us out into the middle of the river where we couldn't follow. So that was the end of that. Didn't catch that turtle today.
It doesn't seem like they're that fast. Are they that fast? Why
In the
couldn't
water,
you catch this turtle?
they can swim faster than an Olympic swimmer.
No, they can't.
Yes, definitely.
On
Wow.
land, not that impressive, it's true. But in the water, they're incredibly fast.
Holy
And
smokes.
even on land, you would be surprised
Really?
to see a turtle move.
They can scurry.
They can scurry, and if you sort of like set one down and then go to like get your clipboard or something, that turtle is long gone.
All right, so that's the hardest part of your job. What's the most fun part of your job?
For me personally, like showing kids animals and getting seeing that spark light up in their eyes. I've been with kids where this is the first turtle that they've ever, maybe they've seen a turtle on TV or when they see a snake or a turtle or something and they're like, oh my God, now I can really, I get that animal.
Yeah.
And it's like you just feel that connection that happens. I feel like, okay, I've done something and now this kid is gonna remember this.
Yeah.
And hopefully, become an adult and maybe, vote
Right.
in
Create
ways
an
that will help
environmentalist.
turtles and
Yes.
exactly, right,
Yeah.
sort of converted someone.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite thing is when I see that conversion spark.
Yeah.
For me, it's probably discovering something new. And it's amazing. A lot of these animals, they live here in Massachusetts, a really densely populated state. But, a lot of these turtles haven't necessarily been intensively studied before. We're learning new things about them all the time, finding them in new places where we didn't realize they could be. Yeah, there are rare turtles all over the place. And the more we look at them, the more we learn, the more they surprise us. And that's true, especially of insects. Nobody's really looking at insects. There are a few entomologists out there, but insects are everywhere, and people pay so little attention to them that once you actually start looking at insects and plants, you discover all kinds of amazing things that nobody even knew before. It's a whole kind of unknown world right next to us.
That's so interesting. You'd think New England would be sort of studied to death, really.
Right, but yeah, there's still things to discover, and even within turtles, I think they're people think they're a reptile, they're not that smart, they're slow, but actually the more that we study turtles and not just me, but the wider scientific community, the more we're discovering that they communicate with each other. There's all this data that's coming out as we're learning about turtle intelligence, turtle personality, right? We have a study going where we're examining boldness in the different turtles and seeing how that might affect their home range size, how they react to different stimuli and different things in the environment. So it's really interesting, and there's so much more to learn. So kind of Matt said, we can discover. And when I talk to kids, I'm like, you know what? They'll ask me questions that will stump me, and I'm like, that's a great question. You now need to go become a turtle biologist, and you're going to answer that question. I'm going to read about it in science.
That's awesome. All right, well, we have a smart audience question from
Yeah.
someone out there. Are all turtles friendly?
Ooh. I mean, it depends on what
They
you mean
especially
by-
bring up snapping turtles.
Yeah.
Are they friendly? Or that's just what they do.
Honestly, snapping turtles are really chill animals. No,
What?
they are.
Except
Because
for when they
snapping
bite your
turtles-
finger off.
They spend, 90% of their time in the water, and when a snapping turtle is in the water, they won't bite you. I've stood on a snapping turtle for 20 minutes and it's
Accidentally.
underwater accidentally. Yes, it's not something I do intentionally, but when you're out there following turtles through the water, it happens sometimes. When they're in the water, they're in their happy place, right? They're comfortable, they're confident. Nothing eats an adult snapping turtle. They just wait for you to leave. It's when they're on land that they feel vulnerable.
Can we just, how did that happen? Did you thought there was a rock? Why were you standing on the turtle?
I was trying to get to a different turtle, so I was following the signal of a turtle, and I didn't know that there was a snapping turtle sitting right on the bottom.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay.
it's like a nice,
But then I
it's like a
saw
rock,
it. I saw it swim away, but I stepped on it and it was just like, excuse me.
Oh, wow.
And it swam away. There's
Okay,
no
so-
interest in biting.
Okay, so you're saying friendly in the water and otherwise.
Yeah,
On land, they get nervous.
They are friendly, but they're going to defend themselves, just like we would even a friendly person. Something goes and threatens them, right? We might lash out. And snapping turtles, unlike many, the stereotype of a turtle when they get scared, they're going to tuck into their shell, and that's what many turtles can do. But snapping turtles are too big for their shell. They actually cannot fit into their shell. So because they don't have a good defense, they have to have a good offense. And so they defend themselves by snapping. And that, it's a great adaptation that they have. And it's very easy to avoid being snapped. We can show people how to not get snapped by a snapping turtle.
Yeah, do you want to do that now or do you want to save that for the end?
I can show it now.
Yeah, I do want to know this because I just avoid, if I see a snapping turtle, I'm just like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay.
Okay, so if you happen to see one
Exactly. So we
somewhere out
have-
there in the world,
We have Snappy here. This is our plush fake snapping turtle. And the most important thing to know is, where does the turtle snap from? Does it snap from its
Mouth.
face or from its butt?
yes, I got one right.
Right, it snaps from its face.
Don't do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you just need to keep all parts of your body away from the turtle's snapping end.
Okay.
And they have a very long neck. So this plush obviously can't do it, but a snapping turtle can like stretch its neck to almost basically the back half of its shell.
Okay.
So if you were to put your hand like here, right, a snapping turtle could kind of like reach around and snap you, right?
Okay,
But
don't
if
do
you are
that.
in the back half of the shell, that snapping turtle cannot reach you, right? So first of all, if you're behind a turtle, right, you're behind
So
the
this
snapping.
might happen like if you're driving, you see one trying to cross the road or
We
something.
hear about that all the
Exactly.
time.
So we hear
Okay.
about this all the time, and I've seen like grown, strong policemen who are like shaking at the sight of a snapping turtle, right? But it's very, very easy to pick up a snapping turtle safely. So first of all, you want to get behind the snapping turtle, right? So again, you're away from the snapping end.
Are they really this size?
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yes,
okay.
so they can be 30 plus pounds.
Okay.
So they are large animals. So this is obviously an adult activity. So for children in the audience, right, the snapping turtle could weigh more than you do. So you're not going to want to grab the snapping turtle yourself. You're going to call an adult. But you want to get behind the snapping turtle. And then there's two different ways that you can pick the snapping turtle up. So kind of number one, I don't know if we call it the easiest. Different people have different theories about which one is easier. But number one is you can grab the turtle from the back of its shell, like this, right? And so your hands are out of range of the snapping turtle, and you can pick up the snapping turtle and wheelbarrow it across the road. Right? If it's too heavy for you, right, you can
it'll walk on
kind of wheelbarrow it, or you can straight up pick it up.
Wow,
If you
okay.
do this though, the snapping turtle will kind of try and claw you with his back claws. So it is kind of helpful to grab the back legs, right? So you can kind of grab them just like this, and again, wheelbarrow the turtle across the road. They are strong, so you have to grip quite hard.
And they'll
Wow.
snap as soon as you try and pick them up, even if they can't reach you, because they know it startles people.
Yes.
And you'll drop them.
And you'll be like, oh my God. But don't worry, the snapping turtle cannot snap you if you are behind them. The other way to grab them, which is hard to do with the plush, so Matt, you can hold the plush up to me.
Yeah.
You can also grab the turtle like this. So from the back of the shell, like this, and so the two ends of the shell, you can pick it up. And this is kind of more comfortable to pick it up because it can't claw you.
I'm like
with its
scared of
little
this
feet.
like plush animal.
But yeah, so you can pick them up just like this, and again, take the turtle across the road. This
right.
works great for large snapping turtles, but if it's a small snapping turtle, your hand is like so big compared to the size of its shell that it can still reach around and grab you. So I always kind of say that the foolproof way
Go
from
for the
behind is go for the back legs and wheelbarrow the turtle.
That's amazing. Okay, I would have never suspected that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Snappy, the snapping
Absolutely.
turtle. Okay, good. All right,
Yeah.
that was some good information.
There's a
Absolutely.
trick here, though.
Oh,
Let's see if you know the trick question.
okay, I doubt it.
Which side of the road do you take the turtle to when you're crossing the road?
The other side?
Yeah.
The way it was going?
The way it was
Oh
going.
my God, I got a right answer.
The most important thing, and people get this wrong all the time. They're like, look at this dumb turtle. He's leaving this nice pond and
Oh,
going
no.
to this yard. Why would he do that? And I'm going to put him back. Well, the turtle had a reason for leaving the pond. Maybe the turtle is going to nest in the yard across the street. Or maybe that pond doesn't have good food in it anymore and the turtle is looking for a new pond. Maybe the turtle's looking for a mate, right? You don't know what that turtle is thinking. But if that turtle is trying to cross the road in that direction, help that turtle cross to that
100%.
side.
Are you sure? Because you just said they had different personalities. Maybe it's a dumb turtle.
What we do know from bitter experience that if you take it back to where it came from, as soon as you leave, the turtle will just turn around and try and cross the road again, which puts it back in danger.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was so much good information.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. All right. We're gonna go back to turtles in a little bit. We're gonna switch to salamanders. I think for a little bit. And I think we had some video of salamanders, which are very weird. So salamanders are super weird. I don't understand at all. So what does your salamander program involve?
Yeah, so we work with a rare salamander called the marbled salamander at the Middlesex Fells Reservation, which is
this
right
it?
near Metro Boston. Yeah, so this is a baby. Right, so salamanders are amphibians, just like frogs and toads. They're born as tadpoles, totally aquatic. They've got gills. That's what those feathery little things to either side of the head are. They're gills that let them breathe water. And then they metamorphose. They become adult salamanders who live on land and have lungs and breathe air like we do.
How old is this guy in the spoon?
Probably a couple months.
Oh my God.
maybe
I thought you were going to say like an
month or
hour.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Okay.
this is decent size. It's a reasonably big larva
Wow.
for that time of year.
Okay.
Yeah. But so the marbled salamanders, they used to live in the Middlesex Fells, which is an urban park right here in Metro Boston. But they disappeared from the fells in the 1930s. There's been no marbled salamanders seen there since 1932.
Do we know why?
Yeah, a lot of it was habitat change, industrialization. It's hard to see it now, but the Middlesex Fells was actually a major industrial center. There was a rubber factory there and a lot of mills and a whole town that serviced the workers who worked at the factory. So now it's a forested park.
Got
But there's a lot of timber extraction. They cut down a lot of trees, granite extraction as well.
I
So
see.
it was really a thriving industrial landscape until the beginning of the 20th century, which is when they started to protect it and
Got
try
it.
and reforest it. But by that time, amphibians are really, really sensitive, salamanders included. So the habitat had changed so much that it was just no longer any good for the salamanders.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just want to.
Yes.
So is this the same salamander?
exactly.
Okay, and this is later than
This is a little bit
first?
older,
Okay.
but also just better lighting. And you can just see they're
Sorry, can we roll the video again?
they're really
Sorry.
incredible. I mean, so
Okay.
this you can already see the kind of the mottled spotting on this salamander, but on this one
Okay.
you can really see the kind of beautiful gold speckles.
Okay.
And their skin is pretty translucent.
Even
So-
when they get older, or
You can see its heart.
Yes. So yeah, you
Ah.
can see its heart. You'll be able to see its intestines. So that's sort of like poop making its way gradually through. And yeah, pretty awesome little animals. And you can see the external gills there.
yeah.
Kind of almost
So
reminds
how
me.
old is this, and how long do they stay at this stage?
This guy's probably maybe 2 months
2 or 3
old.
months, I'd say.
Yeah. So they'll spend a few months. So in the wild, marbled salamanders are really cool because they quite unique in Massachusetts. They will lay their eggs in the fall. So a lot of our salamanders here will lay their eggs in the springtime, right around now.
Yeah.
But marbled salamanders lay their eggs in the fall, and the eggs hatch, and then spend the winter as tiny larvae under the ice.
Huh.
So they will be growing all winter long under the ice in very frigid water.
Huh.
In this picture, you can see this is actually my hand with a neoprene glove because it's very cold. It's
Oh my
December. We're taking this. And so they're under the ice and growing all winter long. So by the time spring rolls around, they've grown quite large. And when the other types of salamanders and frogs lay their eggs and have, then they hatch as little larvae, they're much smaller. And actually, marbled salamanders can eat them.
Oh.
So they've kind of got that head start on
Huh.
everything
Interesting.
else. else. And so they'll spend, the winter and sort of start metamorphosing into salamanders in like May and June. But we actually have a program, so the fells had no salamanders. And we thought, okay, look, the habitat has been almost perfectly restored. There's really great vernal pools for the salamanders. The forest is here. There's really great habitat, but there's no way for the salamanders to get here, right? There aren't any nearby populations, and even if there were, you think about the fells, right? They're surrounded by I-93, right? Interstate, right? Huge development. There is no way that a salamander could walk into the fells and find it. So we got permission from the state to collect marbled salamander larvae from out in Western Mass, where they're slightly more common. We collected, a bunch of larvae, raised them at the zoo and at local high schools until they metamorphose into baby salamanders, and then release them. And we've been doing that for now 6 years.
Wow.
To the fells. And just right here's a guy just getting released, right? Like how beautiful they are. They're called marbled salamanders because that kind of marbled look to them. And just this past, not this winter, but with the winter before, a volunteer was out in the fells doing kind of like a biodiversity survey, and they were like looking into the water, and they're like, oh, what's this weird little thing? And they snapped a picture of it, and it turned out it was a marbled salamander.
Oh, so they're
larva.
back.
So it means that at least 2 of our salamanders had grown up to become adults, found each other, and laid eggs, and those eggs had hatched.
Oh my God.
And later we went back, we confirmed that the salamanders were there. We found actually 5 adults during the survey. So it's really exciting, and it's a success story, right? Salamanders hadn't been seen at the fells for almost 100 years, and now they are back. And something we really try and remind people, we can make a difference. We can bring animals back, right? There's a lot of sad stories of animals going extinct or becoming more and more endangered. But when we figure out what's going on and then we do something to help them, we can make a difference and bring them back. So it's very exciting.
How many did you say you've released?
To date,
We've released several hundred.
Yeah, I forget the exact number. In
the wild, right, survival to adulthood, the numbers are not good for most of these wild animals. But we are really, really excited that pretty much as soon as possible, we found wild babies, because it actually, even though these things are little tiny, it can take them 4 or 5 years to get old enough to lay eggs of their own. And it only took us 6 years to find the first wild hatched larvae, which probably means that they're actually surviving pretty well. But these salamanders are actually part of a group that are called mole salamanders, because they spend almost their whole lives, once they're out of the water and they're on land, they spend a lot of their time underground. So it's actually really hard to find the adults. You pretty much have to be there when they come back to the water to lay eggs of their own. So for their whole teenage and young adult years, they're subterranean. You don't see them.
Interesting. All right, I'm getting a bunch of audience questions about salamanders. People are very excited. Okay.
Please.
So first, are they, I think somebody must have seen the picture of the gills and asked if they're related to axolotls, or as I've been told, they're actually pronounced axolotl.
Axolotl, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, well done. But for everybody else, axolotls, we'll say, right?
Yeah, so axolotl are salamanders. They're actually in the same salamander family. They're called neotenous salamanders, which basically just means they stay in the baby form their whole lives.
Oh my gosh.
So most salamanders, when they become adults, they lose those feathery gills and they move on to land. Axolotl actually keep the gills for their whole lives. So even adults still have the gills, but they've got all 4 legs. Right, so they've grown their legs, but they keep the gills. They stay aquatic for their whole lives, which is unique among salamanders.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, is it okay to touch salamanders because they do look kind of slimy and gross? Are they poison, like those poison dart frogs or anything?
They are
Oh, they
poisonous
are?
if you were to eat them.
Oh.
So you definitely, a lot of them you wouldn't want to eat, but I don't think anyone here likes to eat salamanders, so not recommended. But they aren't poisonous to touch them.
Okay.
They do have very sensitive skin, so we do encourage people to be very careful and, thoughtful about whether they are going to touch a salamander. I mean, it is a really special thing to find one and to hold it gently in your hands. But if you've just put lotion or hand sanitizer or something like that, those kind of chemicals could affect the salamander. So you would want to be cognizant of that. So it is probably better not to touch them. But you won't have a reaction touching them, and they can probably handle being touched by you very gently.
If they're toxic to eat, what happens to all the ones in the wild that die? I assume that they're getting eaten by something else.
Yeah.
So they're not toxic to other things?
They are toxic to some animals,
Oh.
yeah.
But many animals are adapted to resist the toxin if they eat a lot of things like salamanders.
If people wanted to go out and look for salamanders, where should they go?
So
when and where and
going to a forested area, Middlesex Fells, for example. Maybe you'll see a marbled salamander. Let us know. A good time to see salamanders is on warm spring evenings when it's raining. So when we do salamander surveys, we actually are out at night a lot of times.
Oh my goodness!
Because they are more active at night. They're kind of be coming out. So that is a kind of an more likely time to see them, but they are secretive. Like Matt said, they spend a lot of time underground. So, we go out many nights and don't see a single salamander, even though we know exactly where to look and how to look. So, it is very special though when you see them. They're such cool little animals.
They're very sneaky animals.
Under logs is good too.
Under log.
You roll a log, check under there. Sometimes you'll find a salamander hiding because it's damp and nicely temperature controlled, which they like.
So you guys work with only threatened and endangered species in general?
For the most part.
Okay.
We do have a project with common snapping turtles, which are not endangered here in Massachusetts, but in the Boston area, they are relatively uncommon, right? It's Boston. So at the Arnold Arboretum, we study the snapping turtles that are living at the Arboretum.
Oh my goodness.
And see how their population is doing.
And what are all these? These are some endangered, threatened species locally? What are they?
So we've got the marbled salamander, and then in the middle we have the spadefoot toad, which is actually not a toad, it's a frog, despite its name. It's the rarest frog in Massachusetts, and they're really cool. You can find them on the Cape. They also spend a lot of their time underground. So
I'm seeing a theme here.
Very hard to find. Sneaky. We've got the Blandings turtle, which we'll talk about shortly. And then this picture down, the two bottom pictures are actually insects and flowers. And the little moth that's here on the yellow, I think black-eyed Susan, is an ornate Bella moth. And there was a field that was basically just, it's kind of, there's some invasives and, it's sort of like an abandoned farm field. And turtles nest in that field. And so no one's allowed to do anything in this field. And so it's kind of left for the turtles. But we thought, the turtles wouldn't mind if we spread some wildflower seeds here.
Okay.
And made the field a little bit better for not just the turtles, but also for pollinators, right, and birds. And so we seeded this field, and now it's this beautiful wildflower meadow with all these flowers. And this moth, which had not been seen in, I forget the details of when this moth, but it basically no one had seen this moth in this town in years and years and years. Suddenly it appeared, and it's build it and they will come.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. And then the purple flowers in this other picture are a rare flower called the New England blazing star that was extirpated from.
What does extirpated mean?
Extirpated means it's locally extinct. So there was the last population that was known. We collected seed from that population, and then it disappeared. Cows trampled it. But now we have grown the seed from that population, and we've now, I think there's 12 different sites where we've planted this wildflower, and
that's
it's
amazing.
Very exciting.
And like the name suggests, you can only find it in New England. Nowhere else in the world does that flower exist.
That's awesome. Oh, well, that's some good happy stories. All right,
yeah.
Great. All right, let's turn to our turtley friends. And we're going to talk about this program called the Hatch program, which you guys do, and that stands for something.
Yes.
Hatchling and turtle conservation through headstarting.
Headstart. So is it headstart, sort of like, Headstart for kids?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. So cool. All right. Tell me a little bit about the program. This is some scenes from it.
Yeah.
So this involves school kids.
Yes.
School kids taking care of turtles, which seems like a terrible idea. If you ask me, but
So one of the things, though, and this isn't the case with all turtle populations or in every site, but one of the things that we were noticing at some of our turtle sites is that we weren't finding young turtles. And too many of the turtles, basically what we discovered is that they were being eaten as either eggs or as tiny hatchlings, because when they first hatch, they're the size of a quarter. And at that size, even a chipmunk can eat.
No,
Yes.
a chipmunk eating a turtle?
Yes,
Yeah.
there are
That's
photos
insane.
that you can find online of chipmunks
It's pretty
eating
graphic.
turtles.
But I mean, you think about it, a baby
Whoa.
turtle is just a nut, right?
Yeah.
Chipmunks are adapted to chew through hard shells to get at protein inside, and that's exactly what a baby turtle
That's sick.
It is.
Right.
Wow.
It's nature.
Okay.
Yeah, it is nature, right? So, that's, chipmunks and turtles and all of these animals have evolved and lived together for thousands of years. And normally in a balanced ecosystem, that would be fine, right?
Yeah.
Some turtles would get eaten, some would survive, but there'd be still enough. But in some of our populations, right, there's so few females left laying so few eggs that if some of those eggs get dug up by raccoons and eaten, or some of those hatchlings get eaten by chipmunks, right, we're just not going to have enough animals to carry on the population. So what we figured out is if we can get the turtles past that really vulnerable stage of their life, we protect the nest from being dug up.
Okay.
And then once those hatchlings come out, we raise them for a year until they're bigger and stronger. So over the course of a year, you can take a quarter-sized turtle. 9 months later, that turtle can be cheeseburger size. And
Oh, look at that, so cute.
so these are the quarter-sized
Why would a
turtles.
chipmunk want to eat those turtles?
So
They're
adorable.
cute.
And
Are these newborns?
so these are newborns. Some of them, this guy over here, right? It's just you see the eggs. They're literally just hatched out of his eggs. Very, very cute. But again, so small, so vulnerable. So we can raise them and get them bigger before we release them and increase their chance of survival. But we thought, well, rather than just do that at the zoo, what if we had kids help us? So we work now with 40 different Massachusetts schools that raise these turtles in their classroom for the school year.
Okay.
And right, they feed them, they care for them, and then by the end of the school year, those turtles are big. They come out on a field trip to release their turtles.
Oh.
Right? And what's just really, really cool is the kids make a connection with the turtles that are in their, Bubbles or Squirtle or whoever their turtle is in their class that they love. And then they come out into the field and they make that connection. Oh, this is Bubbles' home, right? I have to protect this wetland. I have to make sure there's no trash here, no development here, whatever, so that Bubbles can live here for the next 90 years, because Blanding's turtles can live 90 to 100 years.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm learning so many facts. Holy smokes. Is there anybody, I'm just out of curious, anybody here in that program? Anybody here has raised a turtle in their school? No, okay, not yet. So what grade usually?
Our kind of target is 3, 4, and 5.
Oh my God. Okay, so have there ever been any sort of mishaps in a classroom, like an escaped turtle, children feeding the turtle, gummy bears, children stealing turtles?
I mean, we do, there is always concern about that kind of thing, but actually, so in addition to getting the turtles, they also get programs from our staff. So our staff are overseeing the headstarting in all of the classrooms. The kids get classroom programs about why the turtles need their help, what the sort of importance of the turtles in the local ecosystem is, how the turtles live their lives. And their kids are always interested in like just sharing food out of their lunch boxes with the turtles, but we tell them ahead of time, the turtles don't want human food, it's going to make them sick. We provide them with balanced diet that has everything that the turtles need. And then even we can involve the kids later on in the year in feeding the turtles natural foods to prepare them for their release. So it's really exciting. The kids love to feed them earthworms and that sort of thing, which is a food that the turtles will eat in the wild. And it's just as exciting for the kids to feed them earthworms as gummy bears. So.
And so you just want to sort of protect them until they're a certain size. You don't want to, are you trying to like buff them up?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent. We do want to get them as big as we can. And it's the turtles are really incredible, right? The turtles just blossom in this care because in the classroom setting, they have perfectly temperature controlled environment. They get regular food that's nutritionally complete. So a turtle at the end of the hatch program, one of those turtles that spent just 1 year in a classroom. So here we have a comparison between a wild turtle and one of our hatch turtles. So that's a wild 3 or 4 year old spotted turtle.
The small one.
Right, and this is a 1 year old hatch turtle. So you can see the size difference, right? This turtle has grown bigger than a wild 3 or 4 year old in 1 year in the hatch program. No chipmunk is going to be eating that turtle, right?
Have you noticed any, so this is an audience question, have you noticed any behavioral differences between the wild-born and the head
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely it's an important question because if we were raising these turtles in the classroom and then letting them go and they just didn't know how to be turtles, then we wouldn't be actually helping them, right? So we put radio trackers on many of the turtles so we can follow them after we let them go and see how they're doing, how they're behaving, how they're growing and surviving, what kind of habitat they're using. And it is pretty awesome to see how they are behaving correctly as wild turtles. And I think it's interesting how the turtle that they'll beg for food in the classroom. They see someone coming and they're like, oh, you've got the food. And then we let that turtle go. And I've had experiences where I've let a turtle go who is seemingly very friendly and kind of adapted to people. And then I go and track that turtle the next day. And that turtle's already hunkered down under the mud, like totally tucked in. I pick that turtle up, and it's behaving like a wild turtle.
Interesting.
And it's that instinct that kicks in. So that it's we can do this with turtles. We would not be able to do this with birds or mammals or many kinds of animals that need parental care to show them kind of how to be what they are. But turtles have all of that built in as instinct, and they don't have a parent who's there teaching them anything. So they know all those things, and it kicks in when we let them go.
Huh. And so you go out and you collect eggs, or do you collect just hatched
We track
turtles?
the females.
Okay.
So we track all the females that we find. We put trackers on them, and then during the nesting season, which is in June,
that's coming up.
Okay, exactly. We're gearing up for it.
Okay.
Here in Massachusetts, it's like late May through June, and so every night our staff are out looking for turtles, and we don't know which turtle is going to lay. You don't know. It's just like a human. You maybe have a due date, but you don't know when exactly you'll go into labor, right? And it's like, oh, is it, when is it actually going to be? So we don't know when each turtle is going to lay eggs. So we have to follow each turtle every single night and basically just see what they're doing and like, oh, are they looking like they're going to lay eggs tonight or not? And so we might be out sometimes till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning following turtles.
And then once they lay their eggs, do you take the eggs? And
usually we leave them in place, so as soon as they lay their eggs, then we'll put a wire cage over the nest so no one can dig into it.
I see. I think we have some egg laying video too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there they are. So what is this turtle doing? Is it burying the eggs, digging a hole for the eggs?
I think at this point the turtle is still laying her eggs. So she's dug a hole. She'll deposit one egg at a time. And it's actually quite amazing with her back feet. They're very dexterous, and she will like kind of move the eggs around, kind of get them situated just where she wants them. Pretty awesome.
It looks like a little dinosaur foot.
Yes. Yes.
And how many eggs do they usually lay?
Average 10.
Wow. Okay. So then you put a little fence around this, and you come back.
She'll cover the nest, so it'll be. She'll try and hide it actually because she doesn't want predators to find it, right? So she'll try and cover the nest very carefully. Spend like an hour just patting it down, and we're like, okay, you're done now. We're gonna protect it for you. Don't worry. And then she'll leave. And I've had there was an instance, kind of a fun story where I was watching a turtle, and in this case, the turtle was missing one of her back legs. So she was digging the hole and she was doing all of this, but she only had one leg to do it with, so she was so slow. And she kept going, and just to dig the hole was taking her a long time. So she didn't even finish digging her hole until I think it was like 1 a.m. And then she started laying the eggs, and that takes, a whole long time. And I was getting really tired. I was thinking, okay, you know what? I know exactly where this is. I'm going to come back first thing tomorrow morning. I'm going to put the cage up. And as soon as I had that thought, I heard like a small little like rustling sound off to the side, and I had my flashlight and I swung it over. There was a raccoon.
Waiting.
Sitting in the bush, waiting. Like he was ready to go and eat those eggs as soon as she was done. So I realized I could not leave until she was done, and I protected that nest.
So how long do they take to hatch?
2 months, approximately.
2 months, okay. And then you take the hatchlings and...
Yes.
Okay, interesting. And so, and how many do you give to like each school group?
It depends, but usually like a classroom will have 2 turtles. So they have 2 turtles in a tank.
Oh, that's
so
fun. Cool. Another audience question. How do turtles and other New England reptiles survive in the cold winter months?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
All of the reptiles have their own sort of strategy, but many of them hibernate. Technically, reptiles brumate, but it amounts to more or less the same thing. So, and a lot of our aquatic turtles, like Blanding's turtles, actually hibernate under the ice of a frozen pond.
What?
Yes. So reptiles...
Did they slow their body down?
Yes, extremely slow. So like reptiles are champion hibernators. They put bears, groundhogs, all the mammal hibernators to shame. Because if you think about cold-blooded animals, their body, the speed of their metabolism is determined by the temperature around them. In warmer temperatures, their heart beats faster, they burn more energy, they digest food faster, they grow faster. In colder temperatures, their heartbeat naturally slows down. They need less food, less water, less air even. So even though turtles are air-breathing animals, right, they need to come to the surface to breathe air. They can survive underwater in a frozen pond for months on a single breath of air that they take in the fall before they go underwater.
That's awesome.
They also have one other trick, which is that they can breathe a little bit through their butt underwater. They can pull oxygen out of the water through their butt, like a fish's gills.
Damn.
It's called
That is-
cloacal
yeah.
respiration.
Butt breathing. That is the best turtle skill I have heard yet. That is amazing.
They're really impressive animals.
All right. Why don't we go over and look at this turtle over here at the table? We've got a little show and tell table
Absolutely.
over here. Wait, we should take Snappy here.
Yes,
Oh,
we
Just
grab
in
Snappy.
case.
Just in case
We don't know we're not going to leave you here, Snappy. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we are. We should have some sort of turtle cam
Yes.
happening, I think. Okay. So there is a turtle hiding in here, and that's what turtles do, I guess, is hide
Yes.
places.
You want to go?
Is it okay?
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay. Okay. Woo! Hello.
It's just water. Don't worry, he's not peeing. So this is Marshmallow, and Marshmallow is a Blandings turtle. So you can tell he's a Blandings turtle by the, well, let's see if Marshmallow will show us his neck. But Blandings turtles have a solid yellow neck. They're the only turtle in Massachusetts that has that yellow neck. Marshmallow's neck isn't very bright yet because he's young and he's not out in the wild eating wild food, but it will become quite bright when he's an
So
adult.
this turtle lives 90 years.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How big do they get? Is that?
They get to be about football,
Football size,
Oh,
Yep. Wow. Excuse me. And the oldest known Blandings turtle, she is, I believe, what is she, 87 now, I think. She's 87, and they have been tracking her, and she laid eggs last year.
damn. Go. Wow. Whoever.
So,
go
yes,
turtle.
they can lay eggs throughout their whole lifespan, which
Wow.
is really amazing.
All right. So this turtle's all like hunkered in.
Yeah.
Is it upset?
Yeah,
Is it
Marshmallow's
mad at
being
us?
a little shy. Maybe it's the bright lights,
lights
right?
probably
You know, this is
helping,
this is a little different for Marshmallow, but you can see, got some air swimming going on
look
here.
at that.
Excellent.
Is it trying to escape? Does it?
Yes.
Does it mind being held?
Probably not too much. Oh, there we can see the long neck starting to come out. Blandings turtles have a very long neck. It's quite impressive. It's a good adaptation for being underwater, but then being able to stretch the neck up and just be able to take a breath without being seen under the water. Yeah.
Wow. Look at its little. I think it's showing off, and I think it's kind of liking this. Actually, it's like,
Yeah.
wee, look at me, I can swim.
Exactly.
Is this actually how they swim underwater with those little movements?
Yes, exactly.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So what is this thing here that we have?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's part of
This
a
like
study that we're doing.
camouflage sneaky camera thing.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's a trail camera or game camera, so that you
hold this
can
thing.
tie it to a tree and set it up out in the wilderness to get footage of what's happening when humans aren't around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we use this for a study of another rare turtle that lives in Massachusetts called wood turtles.
Okay.
We're having problems at some of our field sites where our head-started wood turtles and our adult wood turtles are getting eaten by predators pretty often, especially in drought years. Wood turtles typically live in shallow streams. So in a drought year, right, they use the water to hide from predators. But when those streams dry up, they have nowhere to hide from predators. So.
What eats turtles?
So big predators for these are, well, that's part of what we're trying to find out
Yeah.
with these game cameras. So we want to know what's eating the turtles. We've got suspicions, raccoons, mink, river otters. But so we wanted to know some more about what exactly was eating these turtles so we could make plans about how to better protect them. So we've actually started putting out these cameras with these lifelike 3D printed turtle models. So this
Shut
is
up, that's
artificial.
fake?
It's fake. It's not a real turtle shell. Yeah. And it's got that little lanyard
well,
to anchor
Look,
it
it's
to
like
the
you.
ground.
Yes. And
Look,
this is a
this is
real,
amazing.
This is a
I can't
real
believe
wood
it.
turtle
Comparison.
shell for
That's the real
comparison.
deal.
They look exactly the same. You guys
Yeah.
can look at these later, but they look
Yeah. Quite.
exactly
It's really
the same.
good.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So we-
yeah, impressive.
It's only sort of a pilot study right now, but we're hoping to get more data. And so
Yeah.
far, we have found raccoons picking up the models, interacting with them. A lot of deer come and sniff them, but they don't try to eat them or anything. But also a red-shouldered hawk actually dove down out of a tree and tried to grab one of the little turtle models, which was unexpected, but very, very interesting to see.
Wow, and this is like attached to something. So
Yeah.
the
So if
hawk's
they
like,
once the raccoon grabs it, they can't just make off with it. Yeah. We only have so many of these. So.
that's amazing. All right, and you wanted to show me something else with this snapping turtle. This is the
shell,
actual
yeah.
shell here.
Right. So this is a real turtle shell here.
Is it for a snapping turtle?
This is for a real snapping turtle shell, and I just think it's very cool, right? You can hear it's very hard, right? So it is protecting the turtle, and a turtle shell. A lot of people don't realize this is made up of. Do you have any guesses? You can shout out if you think yes. What keratin? Oh, keratin is correct for the top part of the shell. So keratin is the stuff that our fingernails are made out of, our hair, a rhino's horn, right? It's a lot of building blocks of our bodies. But that is what the outer layer of the turtle shell is. It's giving the turtle shell its color and its texture. But the inside of the turtle shell is bone, right? And you can actually kind of see the turtle's rib cage here. Right? And this is where the turtle spine would be. So turtle shell is actually its spine and its rib cage, right? Modified to be a protection for its whole body. So just like our rib cage protects our very important organs in our body, right? A turtle's shell is not just protecting its heart and its lungs, but its whole body. So it's pretty genius.
So it's born with the shell.
Yes.
And the shell grows with it, and they don't like shed their shells.
Absolutely not. No. So just like our spine and our skeleton is growing with us as we grow, turtle's shell is growing with it as it grows. The outer kind of layer, the keratin layer, in some species can shed each year and of be renewed. And that's really important, right? Bone does not like to be on the outside of our bodies, but turtle shell is on the outside.
Interesting.
So that keratin layer is what protects the turtle shell. And also gives it its color. Otherwise, every turtle would be,
bone colored. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Be very camouflaging.
That's more fun. Okay, so how do you actually track turtles? Because you talked a lot about you let them out in the wild, and then you track to see how long they live and what they eat. Oh, what is this?
So you can see this wood turtle shell actually still has a radio attached to it. So these radios, right, send out a signal that just goes beep, 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 but you can't hear it, right, just standing here.
No.
You couldn't hear this radio because it's broadcasting radio waves. So just like in your car, you need to turn on the radio and then tune it to a specific station to hear the music, right? You don't hear a radio station just walking around.
Hopefully 90.9.
Right. You need a radio receiver set to the specific correct frequency to hear this turtle's radio. So it doesn't help predators find them, but it lets us find them basically by playing Marco Polo. So as the signal gets louder and clearer, we know we're getting closer to the turtle. And if the signal gets quieter, we know we're moving away from the turtle.
Okay.
And then we use a special epoxy to stick the radio to this turtle's shell.
So do they mind? Because I wouldn't like having that stuck to me. Are they okay with that?
We imagine it's probably not their first choice of what to do, but so we keep a strict weight limit on the radio plus the glue has to be 5% or less of their body weight. Because that's what studies have shown does not affect their survival. It doesn't slow them down such that they'll get eaten by predators. So we have a pretty strict weight limit, so we can only put radios on the biggest and strongest turtles that are able to take the weight.
Okay. And you were going to demo how you actually track turtles. Because you have this thing that looks like you ripped an old television.
Yes, we brought our equipment with us. Exactly. So I think it's funny when
this just looks like you're
right
getting
away
alien
you said
signals.
a television off of a roof, but when I talk to kids, they
have no idea what that is.
They're like, what?
I'm just you're old. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Even like I'm like on your car, and they're like,
Okay, so this is tuned into like this type of thing.
Exactly. Yes. So I'm going to show you guys. So I have one. This is a new radio that hasn't been glued on a turtle.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, and if you read that number 151270, it's right. So that I just wrote it on there.
Is that the
frequency?
The frequency. 151270.
Right. So that is that turtle's radio station. So just like 90.9, right? You have. So that is the sound. That is the broadcast of what is coming from that radio. So if I'm pointing, this is the pointing end of the antenna. If I point towards the radio, you can hear it's quite loud.
It was.
There we go, sorry. And then if I point away, hang on, I have it like, okay, I'm trying to hold this to my lapel. Can you guys?
There we go.
You hear that's much louder if I point towards, right? So that's how in the swamp we would say, okay, is it over here? Is it over here? And we would gradually kind of Marco Polo towards the turtle.
All right. Yeah. So can I ask, have you ever found something that wasn't the turtle? That you're, like, oh no, I found this old radio thing.
Yeah, sometimes we find just the radio. So the glue is really strong and it does hold, but sometimes it can fall off.
Yeah.
So it is frustrating when we spend a lot of time and then we dig up and it's just the radio, no turtle. And you don't know, like, is the turtle still alive? We don't know what happened. So that's frustrating. And then, of course, we also get, like, frustrating and sad moments like this where we found this shell, right, with the radio attached. That's how we were able to find this turtle. And this turtle had died. And there was no more flesh left, but the shell obviously is strong and
Yeah, amazing.
was left in the swamp.
Okay, now you told that you have hidden one of these things
Yes. So
somewhere in the theater. So we're
Yes.
going to see if this actually works. There's one of these
so
hidden
one audience
somewhere.
member does have actually a radio hidden under their seat.
Oh, you have to put in the frequency. Oh,
Put in the right frequency. So
see if this actually works.
yes. Okay.
Scientists
And
at work. No peeking. Right.
279. Okay.
Beep, 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 beep.
So you guys, I'm
This is
gonna
where-
hold it up, and then you all can like help direct me, right, which way to go.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Does it sound like it's on this side of the room? Or on this side of the room? Hold on. And are we getting a good audio on my lapel here? Feels like it's not that.
Oh, it's louder.
It is getting louder. Okay. So we're getting hotter, right?
Oh.
Okay. Ooh.
Maybe there's a turtle in here.
Is it getting louder or quieter?
It got quieter.
Okay, so we're gonna turn back around this way. Oh, now it's getting louder again. Okay, wait, so could it be over here? That got quieter again.
Oh, it got louder. Oh.
Oh. Let's see. Is it over by you? Or over here?
Oh.
Ooh. It is.
Yay! Woo!
You're the winner. It's under your seat. Nice. So that is how we would track a turtle. Of course, this was nicely waiting for us. It wasn't swimming away. Unlike the real turtles, which can be real pains sometimes. So that was pretty easy. That was a good, easy demo there. But that is how we would do that, and it's using radio technology, just like WBUR.
Oh, amazing. Woo!
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad it worked.
Yes. Nice.
That is sweet. All right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you guys just a couple last questions. So it's like Earth Week. Now it's Earth Week instead of Earth Day. And, it's a lot of like heavy news that you hear, right? A lot of sort of gloom and doom news. And this is sort of good. It's like people can do stuff and you can help the salamanders and help the turtles. So tell me a little bit about, can we leave people with some like hopeful thoughts and what can individual people do to sort of help our ecosystem here in Massachusetts and New England?
Yeah. I mean, that is something that, like I was saying earlier, like we really want to remind people, like hope is not lost, right? A lot of times, right, I think a lot of people get a lot of eco-anxiety and a lot of, you see the news, right? The rainforest is burning, the climate is, being destroyed. But there is a lot of hope, and there is a lot of, if you look in the right places, in the right stories, right, there are things that people are doing to bring animals back. And there are animals that used to be incredibly rare that now we see all the time, like the bald eagle, for example, right?
Yeah.
Now people see bald eagles all the time.
Eating turtles.
Usually not. But, and so there are stories like that. So, the thing that I always say that people really need to do is you need to figure out, okay, you can't help something that you don't know exists and that you don't understand. So the first thing you have to do is figure out what kinds of animals or plants or what kinds of wildlife live around me, and then what do they need, right? What is going to help them thrive, and then that will help you then determine what you can do to help those species, right? And sometimes we get people that are really well-meaning. I love turtles, so I found this turtle on the road, and I was like, this turtle shouldn't be here. I'm going to drive it 5 miles down the road to a wildlife refuge, right? And so that person was really well-meaning and wanted to help wildlife, but actually did something not good, right? So not only do you need to know what lives around you, you need to understand what it is and what the animals need, and then we can be the best advocates for those animals. So that's what I would tell people to do.
Yeah.
Final thought?
In addition to learning about animals near you and plants, a really good tool for that is the iNaturalist app.
Oh, yes.
So you can get an app on your phone that'll, if you just take a picture of any plant or insect or whatever that you find outside, it'll identify it for you. And it'll tell you about it, and then you can learn more about it. It's a great way, and then it submits those sightings for science. So scientists can learn more about where different plants and animals live, and they can use that information to help protect those plants and animals. And you can also try and make your own home a habitat. So you can plant native plants, right? All of the animals, all the endangered animals that we work with rely on plants, right? Animals either eat plants or they eat animals that eat plants. So plants are the foundations of healthy ecosystems, and all of the endangered animals that live here are adapted to living on native plants. So those native plants, there are a lot of bees and butterflies that need maybe one specific species of flower. Like monarch butterflies and milkweeds is a famous example, right? Monarch caterpillars will only eat milkweed. So by planting those special native plants, you can help preserve the rare native insects and the animals that then depend on those insects, the whole food chain. And also leaving the leaves. So leave the leaves is a fun little catchphrase, and it's pretty easy to talk people into doing less yard work generally. But yeah, it turns out if you notice fewer fireflies or lightning bugs now when you were a kid, I noticed that change. Even just the last 30 years, there are a lot fewer fireflies around. Fireflies live in leaf litter. That's where baby fireflies live and where they grow. So when you rake up all the leaves off your lawn and then bag them up and set them out by the curb, there's nowhere for the fireflies to lay their eggs and raise their babies.
One last audience question is, how can we get our school involved in the Hatch program?
Yeah, unfortunately, because they're rare, right? There aren't that many turtles to pass out, so it's very competitive.
Wow.
We have a long waiting list.
Yeah, we have a long waiting list, but we do tell any school. So even if like you're really into turtles, the teacher has to be the one who's really into it, because the teacher is going to be the one who is going to be mostly responsible for cleaning the turtles' poop and everything. So if you are interested, tell your teacher to go on the Zoo New England website and submit. There's like an interest form that you can submit.
Wow.
And yeah, we'll definitely add them to the list.
Right.
But
That's a good sign that there's a long waiting list.
It is hard, yeah.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. People can come up and ask more questions and look at the turtle. We can't touch the turtle, sorry, but you can look at the turtle. But thank you all for coming. That was great.
Another round of applause for Zoo New England, Emilie Wilder, Matt Kamm, Brooke Wardrop for all her help, and the rest of the team, and also our moderator tonight, Barbara Moran.